Hello and welcome to the news update on Papyrus Global TV. My name is Christiana Babayo. Before the news, here are the headlines. Petroan calls allegation of $5 million tuition blackmail against Nmdpra CEO misleading, urges professional review. Terrorist Bello Turji denies receiving funds from Defense Minister, recounts meeting in new video. Ex-Minister Chris Ngige to remain in prison ahead of December ruling. Igbo clerics condemn Southeast governor's inaction on Nnamdi freedom. Surveyors offer tech support to help security forces map bandits' hideouts. Ono challenges Senate claim on Reno Omokri nomination, insists petition was submitted. Supreme Court rules on presidential power to declare state of emergency. And now the news in details. The Petroleum Retailers Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria has reacted to recent claims linking the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Engineer Farouk Ahmed, to the payment of $5 million in private school fees for his 4 children, a controversy reignited by remarks from industrialist Aliko Dangote. Petroan described characterizations of the $5 million figure as blackmail and urged stakeholders to separate technical critique of sector policy from personalized attacks on public servants. The tuition allegation centers on claims that the education of Ahmed's children in prestigious institutions abroad cannot be reconciled with his public sector earnings, with Dangote asserting that such expenses raise questions about transparency and economic conduct. Critics have also tied the issue to broader regulatory decisions by the Nmdpra, especially around the issuance of petroleum import licenses that affect local refineries and market dynamics. Petroan stressed that the downstream petroleum sector already faces structural challenges, including unresolved bridging claims of approximately $100 billion owed to marketers, and that diverting attention to unverified personal allegations undermine efforts to address systemic matters affecting fuel supply, sector stability, and investor confidence. The association reiterated its commitment to constructive dialogue with regulators such as the Nmdpra and called on all parties to rely on verified information and proper oversight mechanisms rather than unsubstantiated claims. The controversy has seen various civil society actions in the past, including petitions and sit-ins demanding investigations by anti-corruption bodies, though some groups later withdrew petitions after discovering inaccuracies surrounding the claims. Notorious bandit leader Bello Turji has appeared in a newly released video responding to allegations linking him and other criminal figures to financial support from the former Zamfara state governor and current defense minister Bello Matawalle. The footage comes amid ongoing disputes over claims that the state government funded or equipped terror groups as part of a controversial peace initiative. In the video response, Turji acknowledged having met with Matawalle and others during peace dialogue efforts in Zamfara, but firmly rejected assertions that he received money from the governor. He described political figures using his name for propaganda and insisted that any interaction with state actors was tied to peace negotiations rather than financial reward. Turji also alleged suffering losses from military action during that period, suggesting strained relations with the former governor. The renewed spotlight on Turji's alleged connections arises from claims by a former aide to Matawalle, who provided detailed testimony about government transactions involving livestock and vehicles purportedly given to Turji and other bandit figures. The defense minister's camp has countered by characterizing that aide as a gun runner rather than a reliable source, asserting that his involvement stemmed from efforts to mediate peace rather than any endorsement of insurgents. The exchange underscores the enduring controversy over past peace strategies employed in northwest Nigeria, where direct dialogues with criminal networks was once pursued alongside military operations. Critics argue such approaches risk inadvertently empowering outlaw groups, while defenders say engagement was necessary to stabilize violent zones. The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) in Abuja has adjourned the bail application hearing of Dr. Chris Ngige, former Minister of Labour and Employment, until 18 December 2025, ordering that he remained in custody at Kuje Correctional Center pending that decision. Ngige is facing an eight-count corruption charge filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, alleging that he conferred unfair advantages on businesses linked to his associates through contract awards and accepted improper financial gifts during his tenure supervising the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. He has pleaded not guilty to all counts before the court. Justice Mariam Aliyu Hassan deferred the bail ruling after hearing arguments from both the defense and the prosecution. Until the court formally announces on the bail application on December 18th, Ngige will remain on remand at the correctional facility. The continuation of his remand highlights the legal process unfolding in one of Nigeria's high-profile anti-corruption prosecutions this year, as the judiciary weighs the condition and timing under which a former senior public official might be released pending trial. A coalition of Igbo Christian clerics has issued a strong rebuke to the governors of Nigeria's southeast geopolitical zone, accusing them of failing to take decisive action towards securing the freedom of detained indigenous people of Biafra leader Nmdpra. The clerics described the situation as a betrayal of the Igbo people and expressed deep disappointment that regional leadership has not yet leveraged political, legal, or diplomatic channels to intervene on behalf of Kanu. In a communique released following a summit of church leaders, the clerics lamented that the continued incarceration of Kanu, now in custody at Kuje Correctional Center, pending further court proceedings, has become a symbol of unfulfilled promises and missed opportunities for regional unity and advocacy. They noted that many in the Igbo community had looked to their elected governors to champion a structured, peaceful campaign for his release, including appeals to national authorities and engagement with legal mechanisms. The church leaders framed their criticism in moral and spiritual terms, arguing that leadership carries a duty to protect the rights and dignity of constituents. They pointed to Kanu's continued detention, despite successive legal twists, as an injustice that merits collective action, not silence from political representatives. While the communique did not specify particular legal or diplomatic strategies, the clerics insisted that the governor's apathy risks alienating younger generations and eroding trust in the region's political elites. They urged urgent and coordinated intervention, stressing that sustained inaction only deepens communal frustration. The development reflects ongoing tensions surrounding Kanu's long-running legal saga, which has been a flashpoint for national debate on justice, regional identity, and the limits of state power. The cleric's statement adds a religious dimension to what has primarily been a political and legal discourse, amplifying pressure on Southeast governors to respond publicly and substantively. We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue. Security and mapping of professionals are urging closer collaboration between surveyors and Nigerian security forces to enhance efforts to locate and dismantle criminal hideouts, particularly in forested and hard-to-access regions where bandits and kidnappers are known to operate. Experts argue that traditional survey techniques, coupled with modern technologies such as drone-based mapping and geospatial intelligence, could help narrow such areas and provide actionable intelligence to military and law enforcement units. According to proponents of the approach, properly mapped terrain data can reveal patterns of human activity that are invisible to conventional patrols alone, allowing troops to focus on credible hideout locations and reducing time and resources wasted on board searches. Surveyors say their equipment and technical expertise can produce high-resolution mapping products that pinpoint likely criminal encampments, significantly enhancing operational planning and tactical decision making. They also know that advancing aerial drones equipped with specialized sensors can detect unusual concentration of carbon dioxide, a signature of human presence deep within forest areas. Advocates are calling on the federal government to institutionalize the role of surveyors within security planning frameworks, arguing that intelligence led operations demand sophisticated geographic and spatial data to keep pace with evolving threats. This push reflects broader efforts to modernize Nigeria's security architecture by leveraging civilian technical capacities alongside military and police operations to more effectively address banditry, kidnapping, and other forms of violent crime rooted in remote terrain. Former Nigerian Minister Uche Ono has refuted claims by the Senate that no petition was submitted regarding the ambassadorial nomination of Reno Omokri, insisting that official correspondence was delivered in line with legislative procedures. Ono, who has been actively involved in advocacy for transparency in ambassadorial appointments, maintained that the petition was properly filed to highlight alleged procedural irregularities and to request legislative scrutiny of Omokri's nomination. The disagreement underscores on the continuing tensions between certain stakeholders and the National Assembly over the vetting and confirmation process for diplomatic postings. Ono emphasized that Ono emphasized the importance of due diligence and transparency in ambassadorial selections, suggesting that overlooking petitions or procedural consents could undermine the credibility of the nomination process. The Senate has yet to provide further clarification or documentation to substantiate its claim that no petition was received. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has delivered a definitive ruling on the scope of the President's authority to declare a state of emergency, clarifying the constitutional limits and procedural requirements for such declarations. The Apex Court affirmed that while the President may propose a state of emergency in cases of national crisis or threat, approval from the National Assembly is mandatory within a constitutionally specified timeframe for the declaration to remain valid. The judgment establishes a legal precedent for balancing executive action and legislative oversight, aiming to prevent abuse of emergency powers while ensuring the government can respond to genuine security or civil crises. Legal analysts note that the decision strengthens checks and balances within the federal system, reaffirming that unilateral action by the executive without legislative approval would be unconstitutional. The ruling is expected to influence how future emergency situations are handled, particularly in security sensitive regions, and may serve as a reference for ongoing debates about federal authority, state autonomy, and the protection of civil liberties under the Nigerian Constitution. And that's all we have on the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.